All right, welcome to a very, very special edition of Breakfast with the Champion. We've got the one and only, the rock star, the #1 real estate agent in Chicago, Matt Laricy, a good friend of mine, back here in the studio. And today we're gonna talk about tactics, strategies, and really understand how he scaled his business from where he was, 200 million to about 286, and now pushing for possibly national expansion and beyond $300 million. Matt, welcome, man.
Thanks for having me on, man.
So
yeah,
good to see you, man.
Great seeing you again. Appreciate being brought on. I'm the first to be invited back twice.
Dude, for sure.
Nice.
Man, I'm not kidding you.
We're talking repeat.
Dude, I got calls and messages from third world country from my relatives who were like, hey, when's that intense guy coming back on the show?
I'm a passionate talker. I'm an intense person.
I love it, man. Yeah. That's the intensity that got you to this level. Dude, so much has changed, man. Last time we were here, we were wearing masks. The gloom and doom. There was so much going on. You were the one person who was like, "This is all like this is garbage. You got to go in and you got to take market share." You were out there every single day, suit and tie. You were crushing it. You were crushing the market share. You were snatching it away from people, which resulted in #1 spot. Walk us through what's happened since then.
Yeah, I mean, so essentially, not that I don't respect the disease or anything that happened or anything like that. I personally wasn't going to let that be a reason why I wasn't going to work. And during the height of the pandemic and everything like that, I was out in the field and I was taking a lot of business from other people because people didn't want to work. I was doing referrals with people and everything like that. And, I think there was a lot more downtime at certain points than I'm normally used to, and it helped me learn how to scale even more and kind of like readjust certain business parts that we wouldn't have done if it wasn't for COVID. So I'm very blessed and happy about kind of how it all went down, because give you simple things. We were actually talking about this yesterday in my office about how closings. I used to go to every closing, okay, and and then when COVID hit, you couldn't do any closings. Right. And we were talking about how Jamie in my office was it was great on Fridays, pre-COVID. Matt would be in a closing all day because we would have 7 or 8 closings. So from 9 a.m. till 5:30, I would just be in a closing on a computer talking with clients and stuff. And they used to think I had to be there, right? It was super important for me to be there. Yeah. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, well that's 1 day a week, 4 days a month, so that's 4 days total, where I'm not able to bring on new business, or if I did, I'd have to put it off, or I was inside overwhelmed, that I wasn't able to, I was leaving money on the table. Sure. And since COVID happened, now I don't go to closings, and now they're slowly starting to let people back, but most title companies even starting to discourage it still to this day, I just got myself an extra day of the week, to go out and get business. That's just one example of how we got more efficient with our time.
Zoom meetings, right? Zoom saving travel time.
Instead of going to meet somebody to get coffee and do a buyer's consultation, which was, let's say an hour, now it's 30 minutes. Now I do more buyer consultations, in a day than I used to do maybe in 3 or 4 days.
Do you think that's changed your relationship with your clients, that you're not showing up to the closings now, and maybe it's a little bit more hands-off? Because I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, I think on the closing process, let's face it, everybody's kind of forcing to make fun conversations, right? And you're on your A game. Yeah. And it's I tell people, I'm not bringing any value there. I'm just here to I'm entertaining them at the that's all I'm doing.
That's it.
And then we're taking time away from the actual closing because we're all telling stories about vacations or what's happened in the business, et cetera, but I'm not bringing any value, So to me, I don't think I'm hurting any relationship with them because essentially it's not that I'm not there for them. I'd rather be there at my desk with my assistants in hand, if a problem comes up to get it, rather than sit there just hanging out. So instead of hanging out and grabbing a beer almost is the way I put it, I'm in the background making sure if shit hits a fan, I'm here to make sure it's taken care of.
Do you convey that message?
I think, we say that to them, literally almost to the T. Yeah. But I also make sure, I don't think there's any way people don't get that too. I think it's the way you carry yourself, right? The way I hold myself to a higher standard, and that just naturally rubs off to people, right? So they understand this guy's not here. I'm not here to bullshit, right? I'm not here to scooter this thing around. I want to make sure that that I have your back at all times.
Yeah. Wow. That's dude. That's intense. Dude, that's and maybe that's what's working, right? Because now you've added an extra 4 days. And I know you don't work 8 hours. You work some crazy.
I get up. I go to bed every night around 11:30, 12. Depends on honestly how much I keep my eyes open. And then every day my alarm goes off about 4:40. Yeah. So the minute I get up, I'm just working.
So one thing people, and again, they're haters in every realm and everything. people are talking that might be affecting his personal life.
Yeah.
Health and everything from that perspective. Now I know
Yeah.
you've got this regimen. You're
Yeah.
very disciplined. You're hitting the gym regardless,
I
whatever
work out
time it is.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
7 days. I mean, this body ain't show. Like, this is a show with like the soup. I mean, I'm in good shape. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would say that, like, when it comes to health wise, like, I mean, I'm working out 7 days a week. I watch what I eat. Like, I don't
Yeah.
like drink much. I mean, I drink like a glass of wine a
Sure.
couple days a week. But like, I'm as good as it get now. You may get stressful, right? You may get stressed out, and that's why your health might get affected. But I don't get stressed out because this is just how I live my life, right? So like, people talk about like if you work a lot, you have to have a high level of stress, right? It just that's weakness in your mind trying to get off on me. Like, I don't have that mentality. Like, my mentality doesn't go like, oh, I'm stressed. My mentality goes, that's just my way of life.
Yeah.
So while other people may say his health's getting affected, that's your health that's getting affected because you're not mentally strong enough. My health is just fine.
Yeah. Not trying to bring Andrew Tate in this dialogue, but that's something he believes in as well. That listen, depression might be out there.
Yeah.
I just don't allow myself to believe that depression exists.
Totally.
And one of the analogies he gives out there is like, if there's someone who believes in ghosts,
Yeah.
someone who doesn't believe in ghosts,
Right.
in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., if there's a bat,
Yeah.
right, that's just like out there, the person that believes in ghosts is gonna freak the F out.
Right.
Like, you can't be, not gonna
Right.
sleep. Someone doesn't believe in ghosts, like, it's probably wind,
Right.
curtain, whatever. I'm just gonna
Right.
roll over and like
Right.
sleep
Go
and
right
not
back to
let
bed.
that affect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that it's kind of same mindset that you have as well?
I
That
mean,
does not
Yeah,
exist.
it's like burnout, right? Like
Yeah.
that reminds me of like burnout, like putting in your mind. Like, how many
Yeah.
people talk about like, well, I'm burned out, or I need mental health. Like,
Yeah.
people are like, I mentally need to clear myself, which
Yeah.
is like complete bullshit. Because
Yeah.
like, go to your grandparents and be like, what do you know about balance, right?
Yeah.
They'll like laugh in your
Yeah.
face, like, balance. Like, what are you talking about, right?
Right.
Balance is like this new word that is like kind of existed in the
Yeah.
last like couple of years because it's a
Yeah.
pussification of America, of like people just being like, I need me because like I'm just not mentally strong enough. Like, I don't burn out because like I don't let those thoughts come into my mind. Like, I'm not burned out because like this is what I do. Like, my job is my life, right?
Yeah.
So like, I don't need to have balance. I don't need to sit here and say this like I need some me time to like recoup because mentally I'm too strong for that. Like, it's hard for me to describe. And when people tell me they get burned out, like, I actually can't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
You
not
can't
to
relate
understand
to
this.
that.
Right, because I don't even understand. Like, my mind would never go there. Like, I'm too mentally strong for that.
What's your message to those people?
I'm just like, get stronger, right? Like, your brain is a muscle, right? So work it. Like, push yourself, right? If you're not pushing yourself, then you're not improving, right? Like,
Wow.
they talk all the time. Like, if you're not failing, you're not trying, right?
Let's switch gears. Come back to that number one spot.
Yeah.
First of all, how does that feel? And I want to, again, I'm a huge fan,
Yeah.
and you've known that for a while.
Yeah, I appreciate that, yeah.
And for me, that's just an incredible achievement.
Yeah.
Because you said you quoted Ricky Bobby last time.
Yeah, if you're not first, you're last. Yeah.
How does
Yeah,
that feel?
I mean, first off, we finished 1 last year in transactions, 2 in dollars sold. Like, year to date right now, we're 1 across the boards.
Yeah.
But like, the way I look at it is like, okay, well, year to date, we may be number 1 in every category, right? Buyer, seller, listings, closings, dollars sold, all this stuff. But all I keep thinking about, your first thing was to me was like, hey, how's it feel to be number 1, right? My first thing I said to you before they started shooting was that like, we're down 59 million. We're down 59.2 million year to date. That's all I think about. I'm not thinking about like, hey, we're winning, right? I'm thinking about that like, we could have been better, right? Like, so like, I'm never satisfied. I'm always hungry.
So
always.
the benchmark does not exist for you. It's
Never.
you're the benchmark.
Yeah, I don't take into like, I'm not content with winning. I'm content with like dominating, and the fact is like, I'm only competing against myself. And like, I'm not the best version of myself because right now the only thing I give a shit about is that I'm down 59.2 million and we did 90 less transactions year to date than we did last year. So just because I'm beating everybody else, all I know is that like, if we were like in some sort of like animation and there was like a trail of my old ghosts of last year and there's a new, today's version, I'm behind it. So how can I be happy about being worse this year than it was last year?
Man, your mind just works in such a unique, different way
Yeah.
that 99.9% salespeople can't comprehend.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm having trouble people to close 4 to 5 deals a year.
Yeah.
I'm having to put minimum expectations that, hey, listen, if you're not closing at least a deal every quarter, we're going to have a talk.
But I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere with that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So like, when I first got in the business, my goal was to close 2 deals a year.
Right.
And then it became like 1 deal a quarter.
Right.
Then it was 1 a month.
Right.
Then two a month, then 1 a week,
Yeah.
now 1 a day, and then like now 5 a day. You
Yeah.
know? So like,
5 a day.
that's the goal, yeah.
So So what's important about being number one? Again, I want you to touch on that again, because I think your followers, some people that follow us, they want to hear that. What's important for a winner?
I mean, winners win. So like to me, like the reason I want to be number one and want to strive for it is because I want to be the best. Like I've always had a feeling inside of me that like I was born to do something great, and that sounds terrible, but any super successful person has that kind of same mentality. And part of being great is being the best at your craft. And if I'm not number one, then I'm not being the best, and I'm last essentially. Because if I'm not winning at all, then essentially who cares if nobody remembers number 2 or number 3. Nobody remembers who's the second. I mean, what they just had the NBA Finals, right? Like you'll remember the Heat lost this year, but like 5 years from now, you remember the Heat were number 2? You won't. So like to me, that's the mentality you have to have in this.
So there's no limit to this then?
There's none, and you'll never be satisfied. And truly successful people should never be satisfied. You should never like take in like maybe give yourself an hour to like bask in like how happy it is that you got it, but like
celebrate
after that, like the minute January 1st hits, the clock starts over and you got to start over again.
Yeah. One of the reels from previous interview that we put out there on Instagram captured a lot of views and went semi-viral, where you said you don't believe in coaches. Second, you don't believe in a 2-year and a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
Let me ask you that question again. Has anything changed, or is your mindset still the same?
I mean, have you ever met like any of these coaches? I mean, to me, like the coaches are always like the people who failed at something else. And then like they're like, okay, well I'm a suave talker, so like let me try to teach you why I can't be there. Yeah. It's the same thing. I always look. This is like a perfect example of a coach is like a financial advisor to me, right? So you get a guy that's telling me how to run my money, and then I'm like, well, like what kind of car do you drive, right? You're in a Civic, and you're renting. You can't even own a place, but you're going to tell me how to manage my money, right? I compare coaches to financial advisors. Like what do I need somebody to tell me how to be a winner when you're not even a winner yourself? Like I don't need somebody to like motivate me to get out of bed, because I motivate myself. Every single day you need to wake up like a man on your mission, and you're here to seize the day, carpe diem, and that's it. Like I don't need somebody to call me up and tell me like, hey, today, like, don't worry, buddy. Like you got to feel good about yourself, or like some sort of pep talk. Like that's just part of like weakness. And again, it comes back to mentality.
You think that's the extent of coaching, or you think maybe there's more to that could be explored?
I think the extent of coaching is just like people who can't and understand. They can't physically figure out themselves, nor do they have the want to do it. So they hire somebody else to tell them this type of stuff. And I think, and those people don't even know what they're talking about. Like I've heard, and I listen to some of these like podcasts and stuff like that, and like every now and then I'd be like, some of these guys have like a few good tidbits, you know what I mean? But like overall, you know what needs to be done. You know what it takes. I don't need to pay somebody money to tell me what it takes.
I say that real estate is a simple business. It's not an easy business. Few handful of tasks we have to do on a daily basis. The 80-20 Pareto rule. 20% of tasks that move the needle 80% of the time. Too often people are focused on the inverse.
But that's my point, is that like, in real estate, your job is to get sales, get listings, work your buyers, work your past fear, right? And then like continue to innovate, right? So what do I need to pay somebody money to tell me that? Like that's what I don't understand. Like it's not like this coach is gonna like now somehow teach me a new way to sell a place faster. They're mostly just telling you like, hey, make sure you wake up and get a good routine. I cannot understand why they even exist in my mind.
So for someone who's operating at a very, very high level and who's a leader, I get that. It's difficult to coach you, right? Someone's got to be doing $1 billion in sales to be able to come in and be like, hey, this is how I went from 200, 300 million to $1 billion in sales. Do you think maybe the coaching is there for your team members?
So like I teach my agents what I do every day to be successful. And I think most of the time, all they need to know is like everybody wants to be successful, right? But the question is like, are you willing to travel down the road to get there, right? So like most agents, you just have to say like, hey, listen, like you're not going to get rich first or fast, right? And I'm sure you got a lot of agents in your team. Like first thing they do, and this is the first question whenever you interview anybody, is like, how much money am I going to make first year? Right? And you're like, I'm always like, if I meet somebody and there's like, how much money am I going to make first year? Like I want to make like, listen, this isn't a good fit, because we're not into this for the money. We're into this like to be the best, and that's a big difference. Okay, so when I teach my agents, I'm like, if you're into this for the money, then you entered the wrong realm. Okay, like we're here to be the best, so like you have to get a routine down, right? That's first and foremost. And then I teach them like, how do you work leads? How do you follow up with people? How do you talk to people? How do you make people feel comfortable? How do you use common sense? One of the most reasons I'm very successful is I use common sense in my business, which nobody does for some reason. So like these are just certain things that I try to teach them, but I wouldn't say I'm coaching them. I'm just showing them what I've done to get ahead,
Yeah.
and try to let them learn from the mistakes that I made to get to the top.
I know that people are dying to know some of those tips and tricks.
Yeah.
What are you coaching and teaching your team members? Let's say someone joins the Laricy group.
Yeah.
What are some of the key fundamental things that you're training and teaching them?
Number one is routine.
Okay.
Like I'm a creature of habit. I do the same exact thing every single day, 7 days a week. I'll go on vacation and I still wake up at the same time and do my same routine. It drives my wife nuts.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, one thing, even myself, like, I get scared. Like, what if I get off my routine? What if I sleep in 5 days in a row? That sixth day, you're not as easy to get up, right? Like, a lot of people live for the weekends.
Right.
Monday morning, that's always like, oh, you're kind of groggy because you're not able to, like, wake up because you're so tired. It's like,
right.
well, it's because you took your foot off the gas on Saturday and Sunday. What if you did your same thing on Saturday and Sunday? Monday, who cares about Monday then?
Right.
You're doing
Just
the same
another
thing.
day.
So, like, for agents, the problem is there's no set thing. It's like when I walked in here, there's like nobody here, right?
No one here.
Like there's nobody to sit there and say, like, you need to do X, Y, Z every single day. So I teach my people, let's get on a good routine and make sure that we're doing the same thing every single day, because the law of consistency will show you that you'll be successful. Second thing I do is I hold them accountable. This is also one of the only businesses that I know of that you cannot show up. Like, if you don't show up, is Robert Refkin going to call you up and be like, hey, listen, like, you didn't come to the office 4 days in a row?
Absolutely.
Does he give a shit? All he cares about, and all any real estate owner cares about, is you closing deals. Because if you close deals, they make money. Here's the best thing about being a real estate owner. If you don't close deals, they don't give a shit either, because they just make money off the back end off you anyways, because you're paying dues. Okay, so, like, whether you succeed or you fail, they still win. Okay, so for me, I always tell my agents that I'm using you for time. I don't need money. I have money at this point in life. I need your time. But if you're not willing to give me your time and your loyalty, then I don't need you. You serve no purpose for me. Like, sure, you can go out and make a bunch of money. That's great. Like, even you were talking to me earlier about, like, we get our title, make money. Like, the money doesn't motivate me. Being the best is what motivates me. So if you're not willing to do what I tell you to do, and you're not willing to work hard, and you can't take criticism, not constructive criticism, real criticism, then get out of here. It's not my problem. I'm not going to coddle you. I'm not going to sit there and kind of pat you on the back and tell you did a great job. I'm going to tell you, like, if you want to be the best, I'm going to push you to be the best. But if you're a pussy and you can't handle it, then get the f out. That's the way I look at it.
Dude, that's incredible, dude. That's very intense, man.
Yeah.
I feel like you are the barrier to entry.
Well, the problem, I think the other problem is that when you talk about, like, how do you teach your team, it's that, like, most team members are on the beach, you know, right? The team leads. They travel. How much they travel? It's like out of control. I see it on Facebook and Instagram. Like, these people are, like, out of town, like, every
all
weekend.
the time. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I take 2 vacations a year for 4 days apiece, and that's it. You know, and, like, that's my only days off, including Christmas, New Year's, and all this other stuff. I compare myself. My leadership style is like I practice what I teach. You know, most leadership, what they do, they're sitting on the beach, they're screaming at you to do the work. And if I'm a minion, as they call them, right? I'm sitting here on the front lines. It's 100 degrees outside. I'm working my ass off. And my team leads on the beach, and I haven't seen them in a month, right? Like, what's that really showing to you? Whereas I'm like Patton. That's how I describe my style. I'm on the front lines with my troops. I'm getting dirty. I'm willing to put my life on the line. I'm willing to die for my business because I believe in it so much. And then if you're not willing to follow me, then get out of here, because I need somebody who's going to have my back. Because when I run across those enemy lines, I need somebody to cover me. If you're not covering me, then I'm dead, right? And that's how I operate my business. And all my people, we're a family, we're a group, we're a Navy SEAL team that's ready to go to battle.
Wow. Dude, like, that is intense, man.
Yeah,
that is
group, man.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That is a Marine level regimen. I mean, that is next level stuff. Dude, anything else that your people need to learn? Or, I mean, you talked about buyers, sellers, maybe using common sense. Any other tips and tricks you want to?
Well, I'm a big believer too in just, like, making, like, kind of understanding, like, how people are just completely full of shit. Right? Yeah. Like, so that's another big thing that I teach people all the time, because, like, how many people say, like, this guy does X amount, right? And then they kind of almost get intimidated, you know, and, like, listen, like, and then I pull up their numbers in 10 seconds. I'm like, you said that guy does 100 million, like, because they're getting intimidated.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Like, in our business, we're pretty much relying on who's got the bigger ego in the room to try to win this, right? And then people just make shit up and nobody checks them. So, like, I teach my guys, I'm like, listen, like, if somebody's going to you and, like, try to bullshit you, you better make sure that, like, you have all the tools in your to come back at him. So this guy says he's $100 million hitter. Like, I just looked him up. He's at 2 deals this year. Like, you're gonna be pushed around by this guy. This guy that's done, like, sat around, done absolutely nothing all day. Like, before I took a piss this morning, I did more business this guy did in the last year.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, and you're gonna get pushed around by him. But that's a big thing. Is like the intimidation level in this business, I think, is a large part of who's successful and who's not successful. It's the lions that are going out and getting him. You know, that those are the ones that are winning.
Why is that the case? In an industry where there should be collaboration, we're all on the same side. We work for the deal. Why is there so much animosity?
The top dogs,
yeah.
the top 50 or so, get it. And they understand that, like, listen, if you're going to work together, that's how the business is going to get done.
Right.
Ultimately, your clients are going to win. Just because you have a better relationship, you could talk about, like, here's where things have to land. It makes a better user experience for all the customers. It makes the deal easier. Ultimately, both parties are going to get a great price. But it's the ones that, I always say it's the people who are just coming up, like the $5 to $10 million hitters. They're always the ones that are trying to prove themselves, and they make everything 50 times harder than they have to be. It's not that hard of a business, but they try to make it harder. And that's the biggest problem I have. Yeah. And that's why, like, even I tell my guys, it's like, listen, like, these are, like, we don't need to do business with people like this. And that's why people come after realtors, because it's like, if your only experience is dealing with a person like that, like, how would you, like, you don't have a good taste in your mouth, right? Like, and that's a problem that we have. That's why, you know, AI and all these other things are coming for our jobs, is because, like, the average agent is that person. They make it difficult. They don't do anything. All the consumer sees is that person got a large paycheck at the end of the day, right? He brought no value to the equation. And, like, that's a problem.
Perfect segue. Let's talk about AI. And I know you've been very vocal about it for quite some time. First of all, I do believe, and I'm probably going to get a lot for this as well, but I do believe you've got maybe 7 or 10 years left in this business as it is today.
I would say less.
Okay, so I have one person who agrees with me. Everyone's like, you're out of your mind. No, people can't exist without real estate agents. I believe we're the travel agents of 2030, 2040. That's just the reality.
Well, first off, remember, there's still travel agents out there.
Of course.
Like you ever go to Disney? Like, I've started researching Disney lately, and like I'm like calling travel agents because I need advice.
It's a white glove treatment, right? People that have money are still going to need real estate agents because there's a little finesse to that. I'm saying average human, the median value, the direct to consumer will be so easy that they can probably cut out the middleman.
I don't know if real estate agents will technically ever go away. I think what's going to happen is your mom and pop, the like real estate agents. There's always been that low barrier to entry.
Sure.
Where your aunt has her license, and you'll lose 2 sales a year to that aunt because you know they have a nephew and a niece that end up buying, and those were your clients. But their aunt ended up getting the real estate license. You know. So like those people, I think, are going to be out. Okay.
I agree.
AI is going to make us more efficient. Okay. So like whether it be writing listing descriptions, showing properties, I'm telling you, like, what's going to happen in the future is that you're going to have, like, on all these websites now, the show me now, like essentially the Uber of real estate that's going to happen, is that all the like on Zillow, you're going to have showing times going to be integrated with Zillow. Okay. So like when you click on something at 10 o'clock, it's confirmed because the seller's calendar is connected to that.
Of course.
And then people will be able to go there and view the place when they want to, and then there's going to be some sort of like hologram that's going to show them everything they want to know. So if you're like, hey, I wish I saw what these cabinets look like red, bam, it's going to show you red while you're in there. What's the size of this room? It's 8 by 10, right? Oh, I wish this had hardwood rather than carpet.
Here's what it looks like. Wow.
You know, so like is that people are going to say, like, why do I need a realtor then if this AI technology is showing this? The reality is it's still a huge asset that you're purchasing, and there's going to be a large population that may say that they don't see any value in you, okay? But there's going to also be another large population that's going to say, like, I need somebody who's going to, like, guide me through this, because one thing I do know about people is that we always think we're getting in some way. We always think somebody's trying to, like, pull a fast one on us, so that's where we're going to go. But because of where that technology is going, it's going to eliminate the people who don't really care about the job, who kind of just like get into the business because they want to dress nice, drive a nice car. But that's where it's going to happen.
Let's talk about the database and CRMs now. I mean, we're seeing integration with all of that, where the AI is replying, texting back. I mean, so many chat GPT integrations and everything. That's going to snatch a lot of business away. I mean, someone like you, you could be out there and be like, man, I don't need these ISA divisions. I don't need people doing follow-up. I mean, I can have the chat GPT thing just keep setting up appointments, and I can keep showing up all day long. Do you think that's going to eliminate about 80% of the brokers in the bottom sort of the pool?
Okay, so you want to talk about...
We're talking about the bottom 80% that just might be threatened by integrations and the direct-to-consumer. I mean, I know Zillow tried the iBuyer, Purple Bricks, so with Redfin, all these, they tried and failed. So if they're going to keep coming back though.
In 2019, I did a podcast with one of the Zillow executives, and I talked about why I thought iBuying would never last. Because I said iBuying would be really good in good markets, but when the market gets bad, like what are you going to do? Because you're going to be holding on all these assets that have taxes, assessments, you know, overhead costs, maintenance costs, just sitting there. You know, obviously leaks happen, hurricanes, whatever it is. And I said, when that happens, it's not going to make any sense. And they said that was wrong, it was an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Every iBuying company doesn't exist. So like, the point is like, again, the reason I got successful also is I use common sense, right? Like my common sense and intuition is just like, this business model makes no sense. People are always coming for real estate agents. So again, I think a lot of the AI and all this stuff is going to change. When you talk about like follow-up and using GPT for follow-ups, it's going to make somebody like myself more efficient. So I spend 4 hours a day, okay, following up with clients every day of the week.
4 hours a day. So let's unpack that, because I had tons of comments on that as well.
Yeah.
People want to know a lot more about your follow-up regimen and your follow-up routine as well.
Yeah.
I know you've got probably thousands of leads coming in a month.
Yeah.
Some good, some garbage, target kicker, right? Your database is massive.
Yeah.
First of all, how are you organizing that data? Let's just start.
So I do first follow-up, second follow-up, third follow-up.
Okay, A, B, C.
Every day I go through each folder.
Okay.
I start from the bottom. So I go first follow-up first, I go all the way to the bottom of the folder, and I go all the way through. So like each folder maybe have 200 emails. That's 600 ones that I'm going through. These are ones I got to follow up every day, okay? So I just go through them every day. And it sounds really long, but like, okay, follow yesterday if I don't need, you know what I mean? Like I'm just glancing
You have your notes
through
and
them.
everything.
I can knock, a lot of it out pretty quick. But then where it gets difficult is like, here's one I got to engage with, right? I engage, and then they re-engage back, and then I get, you know what I mean? It's the back and forth now, right? What do you
and
think about this?
it's got to be timely as well, of course. You
Right.
can't leave them hanging. At some point, you got to stop everything, get back to them as well.
Well, I mean, I have a 3 to 4 hour turnaround time on any email any day of the week,
Yeah.
but like I always try to get back to people. But then calls come in, whatever, right?
Sure.
So, and then I'm also negotiating deals in the meantime,
Right.
et cetera. But like, so that first, second, third follow-up folder, these are leads that have come in like recently, okay, within the last month, let's say, or it's an active buyer, okay, like somebody I'm actively going out with and showing places to,
Right.
okay. So they all kind of fall into one of these buckets.
Okay.
Then I have my weekly email. So every Sunday, so while everybody else is sitting around playing with their families at 5 o'clock on Sundays, every Sunday at 5 o'clock, I go through my weekly inbox, okay, which means that there's about 550 right now for people I need to at least make sure that I touch base with once a week. These are people we got fired from. People who are like, hey, we didn't end up selling, so they rented.
Top of mind, yeah.
People who are like, hey, I want to buy, but like I decided to like rent for the next 6 months.
Sure.
Okay, these are like what I would call 6 months or less people who could transact at some
Are these
point.
in the hot bucket for you, or are these nurture bucket?
These are not nurture. These are mid-nurture.
Mid-nurture, okay.
Then I have my prospects long-term folder. There's about 2,700 people in those right now. And those we follow up every quarter. And my assistants help me with that. And that's more of like a blanket email that we send to them. But we go line by
Newsletter or
line.
something like that.
And they're really mad because like, why don't we just export them to a MailChimp, right? And then e-blast them.
Right.
My problem with this is these are people that ended up renting and not buying off us, people we got fired from. These are people like our last conversation, like they may not remember us if we just, MailChimp them. And a lot of people think I'm wrong. That's fine, and maybe I am. But I will tell you is that by replying back to the last email we had on that thread does wonders because I get at least 8 to 9 sales a quarter from this, okay? So if you think about that, right? You're looking at an extra like maybe 32 sales a year, okay, which equates to maybe an extra $350,000 I make because we're doing it this way. So I've never tried with MailChimp, but I'm also not willing to rock the boat because it's
working. I mean, you're on top of the leaderboard. No CRM. This is all folders in your inbox, your Google Suite.
Yeah, and then we export all of our clientele to Google, and then we like every month we e-blast our clientele with any podcast we do. So we do 2 to 3 podcasts a month. So every time we get a new podcast, we send it to all of our clientele, and then we do a monthly newsletter. And then every quarter, we send a personalized email to every single person as well.
And your assistants are helping you out with that. You're not sitting out there.
Not the quarterlies.
So let's talk about the 4 hour of this prospecting. Are you also dialing? Are you texting? Are you emailing? I
text and email. I rarely call, like unless it's like a new lead. Okay. But if it's like somebody I've been interacting with, I don't call. Honestly, like I have no problem calling, but I found that like somebody that's more of like not like super hot or doesn't need to talk, the call part tends to be awkward. Whereas people are much more comfortable with email or text. I prefer email. I always set that barrier to people up front. Our first meeting is like, I'm better on email, so if you could please never text me, just email me. Because I can't stay organized on text messages.
How do you stay organized on emails? Because I've got 130,000 emails that are probably unread. I'll show it to you after this. It's scary. At the point, I don't even want to open my phone anymore.
I believe in the inbox zero. So when I can't go to bed until my inbox is cleaned out, and when I wake up, I clean out my inbox. So I fold away everything. So that's why, and each one has a different folder to be in.
Subcategories
so
to that.
Every conversation I ever have with a client, you create a folder. So like if I was buying a place, folder's automatically created. Every conversation we have goes to that folder. And then 5 years from now, if you're like, hey, you sold this place and you told me to overpay for it, right? I'm like, well, actually, if you remember, here's the email where I wrote you, where I actually said that, like, I think you're overpaying, but like maybe the market will catch up. But if not, like, it's not always about money. So like I keep every conversation like that.
Is that same expectation you have of your team members as well?
Yes. It's like
but you're giving them the business, so isn't that your lead then?
So if it's a full pass off where it's their lead to run with, it's up to them to go with it.
Where's the accountability in that? What if you're giving them leads and they're not closing anything?
Then we have a problem. They usually get fired. Yeah.
What's the strike here? Like how many strikes you got?
I mean, I don't have an open strike platform. Okay. I mean, I talk to my agents every single day,
daily,
like multiple times a day. There's like a lot of teams, they don't even know who each other are or anything about them. Like a guy on my team, Matt Piazza, put it best. I mean, he said that like every time we go out, it's like somebody's going to prison. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're going out like it's the last time we're ever going to be alive on this planet. Like, everybody knows every single thing about every single person on our team. Like, we are like a family, okay? So, like, I am also, like, extremely hard on them. So if I'm giving you 4 leads and you didn't close any of them, like, we're going to have a conversation, and I'm not going to belittle you to the point where, like, you're either going to cry or you're going to get better or you're going to leave. And that's it. And like the only time people have ever left is because like they just can't take the heat.
Get better or leave. That's it.
But I'm not going to sit here and spend all my money and put my reputation on the line to give you a bunch of business for you not to be able to like close them. And then you're going to get mad at me because I hold you accountable. Like I believe you're better than you are, but just because you don't believe in yourself, that's not my problem. You either believe in it or get the fuck out. That's the way I operate. That's all I care about. Closing.
How's that received? I mean, again, at this point, your people are pretty trained, but someone who's just joining the team, let's say there are a couple of applicants and then you're scaling and expanding, are you intense from day one, or is it just subtle sort of progression?
I mean, I don't try to hide who I am ever. Yeah. Like, I think that's a big problem with people in general is they always, they set the wrong expectation. Like, hey, we're these nice guys. Yeah. Like, we're a family. Like, come on in. You won't work too much, right? And then they start working for something like, wow, these guys are intense. Like, when we interview somebody, I always have a quick 5-minute call with them, kind of give them an overview of what we're looking for, what we're like. Then we do a sit down with usually me, Jamie, and like maybe another assistant. And if they like them, then they sit down with 2 to 3 members of the team individually. Mm-hmm. And then if they like them, then we bring them on for a 2-week trial. Because we want you to like see what it's like for 2 weeks before we extend it. And I always tell, I mean, they'll all tell you like Laricy's a asshole, like he's crazy, like you got it, like you like weekends are gone, like all this stuff. Like so, like we're not like setting the wrong expectations like at all. In fact, like you're completely trained. So if you come in and you're like, holy shit, I didn't know this was going to happen, like that's on you.
So this is something I've witnessed as well, sitting in rooms with you and conferences, and we had Tommy Choi and Millie Rosenblum. They also put an event. Yeah. At this point, you're just immune to any hate or negative comments or slander. You just don't give a. You just have one objective. You have your blinders on, and you move. How does someone get mindset like that?
I mean, like the way I look at it, it's like when you give a speech, right? Like you don't pay attention to most people that are speaking up front, right? So people are like really nervous to like give speeches. They say all the time because like they're nervous to get in front of people and maybe like have a flaw happen, and then people won't pay attention. Then everybody's like reading, and then nobody pays attention. But the people who are really engaging are the ones that like you want to pay attention to, right? Like next thing you know, like you're not on the phone anymore. You're like, dude, I want to hear what this guy has to say, right? So like they keep themselves engaged. I look at that almost like with criticism. Like I don't think about like just reading off stuff and then like caring about what people have to say about me. Like it doesn't bother me. Just because you don't like me, like what's that going to change my life for? Because you wake up every day with that energy of hatred towards me. Like what does that have to do with my life? How does that affect my life? Right? Like it doesn't make any difference at all. People are always going to talk, right? If people aren't talking shit about you, they're not doing something right? Yeah. Like isn't that what they say all the time?
Absolutely.
Like if people aren't hating, then you're not doing the correct thing. Like why am I going to change who I am or say something to make you feel better about yourself? Like these are my opinions. I'm not telling you I'm not trying to force my opinions on you. I'm just telling you what I think, you know? And that's going to cause some hatred.
Yeah, and similar connotation sort of transfers into your buyers or potential viewers as well. I'm sure you get a lot of hateful comments. I'm sure, right? I mean, there are people that disagree, but those are people you don't want to work with in the first place. So they're self-filtering them out of, right?
Mean, honestly, it's rare we don't, like if we meet somebody, we don't get it because of personality issues by like any means. I mean, like, I think probably the reason we have such a high success rate, me personally, with converting people, is just a sense that like me and you will go up against each other, and then like you'll tell them whatever they want to hear, and then like later on you'll change to get the business, but you don't want that negative treatment. And I walk in like a bull in the China store, just knocking shit over. I'm like, listen, like this guy's an idiot. Like he doesn't know what he's talking about with this. Like I don't know I don't ask them who their name was, but they're like, an agent told me it's worth $850,000. Like yeah, I'm a stats guy. Like every sale is $775. It's like maybe you can ask 8, but like 850 is just crazy. Like it's batshit crazy, you know. So like I'm not setting the wrong expectation, and I'm also not trying to project like I'm somebody I'm not. I think the average person is much smarter than you think. But like, so people, when you walk in there acting like you're somebody else, and I walk in there and like I'm just me, like it's hard to beat me, because like I'm going in there like there's no bullshit. Like what you see is what you get.
And that's going to be consistent throughout, where people's patterns, brokers' patterns, realtors, they change, right? They're.
I mean, how many brokers do you see like all like I always talk about this, is that like I'll go to like a $5 million showing in the Gold Coast, and it's like an agent that does no business, and then they open up the door and they get like an English accent. Right, it's like, oh, hello, how are you? And you're like,
we talked about this last time too.
Yeah, like, well, where did this come from, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that doesn't make any sense to me. So like, most agents brag about how they're chameleons, right? This is a big thing agents talk about. Like, I'm a chameleon. I can change for who my clients are, and then I try to cater it differently so they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a bad approach. Like, I don't change who I am. Like, now I may change our marketing approach, or I may change whatever for somebody else, but like I'm not gonna change my values or who I am. Try to get somebody's business. If they don't want to work with me, they don't fucking want to work.
Chicago, very diverse. You're controlling River North downtown market, and you're spreading a little bit outside of that as well right now. What are you seeing out there? As of today, it's June 13th, 2023. Are you buyer heavy? Are you listing heavy? Tell us a little bit more about your portfolio. We were talking about that.
I mean, so like I was saying before, is like we try to have like kind of like what I would like to do with like a stock market, like you know, or my like investments. I have a diverse portfolio. I'm not gonna put all my money in Apple, or I'm not gonna put all my money in like, you know, PayPal, whatever it is, right?
Right.
I work all different price points. So this way, if the market gets bad, we're still gonna be good. So like right now, the high-end luxury market for some people is really bad, and their sales are way down, right? So like to me, it's like, okay, well, if the high-end luxury market's bad, then we'll just do a lot more $200,000 to $400,000 buyers. The other thing is like Chicago's a very liquid city. So if you work under $750,000, no matter what the market is, it's always gonna be hot, right? So that's why my mentality is like I will always do 10 to 12, $200,000 to $750,000 sales a week, and then we'll also do a bunch of $1 to $3 million sales. And I got in a fight. I'm not gonna name any names. I got in a fight with the big broker the other day when she's like, "Well, I do." She's like, "This is a luxury, so I know that that's not really your thing," because they just see me do 12 to 13.
So much involved, yeah.
But I'm like, just so you know, if you actually break down the stats, I'm number 2 in the city for multi-million-dollar sales. It's just that like, you know, there's only like, you know, like maybe 60 of those we do a year, because there's not as many of them, right? And then when I'm doing maybe 60 of the 2 to 750 a month, it doesn't look as much, right? But by keeping that diverse portfolio, they're good. But getting back to like where Chicago is, it's a tale of two cities. You got the downtown markets, you got the outskirts. The outskirts are overperforming and there's no inventory, and the downtown markets are underperforming and there's a lot of inventory. It's very simple, you know. And everybody thinks the downtown market. In fact, Crane's published an article today about how bad the downtown market is because it's twofold: because of crime and because of people not going back to work. And to me, I'm applying logic and common sense. I don't think cities will be wastelands. I think this is a fad. I don't think this is forever. You look at the North Shore, a lot of that didn't go up since the 80s, okay? And now, like, you know, people are buying $2 million houses left and right. Think about pre-pandemic when somebody would say, I want to buy, like, in towns are big markets, right? Somebody would say, like, I want to buy a $1 million place. I'm like, great. They're like, we just have to sell our house in Lake Forest first. Like there's no
good
way.
luck.
Like average market time was like 400 something days at that time.
Yeah.
Now you got something, they want to sell something in Lake Forest and buy a place in Gold Coast. Like contingency,
days.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem at all. Like I'm a history guy, so like I look and saying like, statistically speaking, that's not how it was. And now people are saying like, well, cities will still never exist. Okay, well let's challenge that. Rents are an all-time high right now downtown. We have the lowest vacancy rate in the history of Chicago for the amount of people, like, you know, for rentals, for vacant rentals. Now I know, I have a big portfolio of real estate. Like my one bedrooms, I used to get $2,100. I'm getting $2,400 to $2,600, and I'm renting them in hours, not even days, hours. So if nobody wants to live downtown, why is the downtown market have no vacancies and the rents are an all-time high? Right? Because if nobody wants to live here, why are people down here? I think what the problem is that people are fearful. They're fearful of the news. They say like, hey, crime's really bad. So like, is this always going to be how it is? We just elected a socialist mayor. Like, is he going to let more crime happen? Am I never going to go back to work, et cetera? And all these things are fads. This is not going to last.
What's your prediction on all of that? When do you think the dust's going to settle, the city's going to be back in its
2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years.
Maybe more, maybe less. I mean, here's the thing is that like, I remember in 2009, 10, 11, and 12, 50 people would apply for one job. 50. I remember like people couldn't go on vacations because they didn't have money. How many people nowadays you see on Instagram in Turkey or, you know, like Turks and Caicos or, you know, Croatia, right? Like everybody's traveling, everybody's got a ton of money. When was the last time you had a friend tell you they can't go out to dinner because they can't afford it? Honestly, when was the last time?
No,
can't remember.
Rarely,
right?
yeah.
I remember 9, 10, 11, 12 people with like $400 steak dinner. Like, I can't do it nowadays. I'll be like, hey, dude, we're going to go get steak. Probably $400. I'm like, yeah, whatever. No big deal.
Yeah.
Everybody's got cash. That's not natural. We're defying history right now. So we're heading towards a bad cycle of the economy. When that happens, these businesses are going to sit that back and say, like, listen, what's my biggest expense? People. People are my biggest expense. We have a lot of people working at home in their underwear doing nothing. Okay, I have personal friends that have made millions of dollars the last couple of years doing absolutely nothing. They go on the golf course, they check in, they say they're working, right? And then they make fun of me because like, oh, dude, like I worked like maybe like 10 hours last month.
They're bragging about that.
Yeah, and I made $800,000. I'm like, yeah, great, dude. You think you're not expendable? The fact that you do nothing, okay?
They're gonna find out.
Right, and then once the businesses crack down, they start firing people, and the bosses take the power back. They're gonna start saying like, hey, you're coming back to work, and people are like, well, then I won't work for you. That's great. Go find somewhere else to go. Guess what? There's not gonna be anywhere else to go. Do you know how I know I'm gonna be right? I said this. Watch the tech companies. All the tech companies are doing layoffs. Now it's the mortgage companies. Soon it's gonna be the real estate companies. Everybody's been laying people off. I personally laid off all my marketing staff before the first of this year. I was like, these guys are making hundreds of thousands of dollars doing absolutely nothing. And I was a little bit nervous at first when I let them go. And I'll tell you right now, I haven't rehired anybody. Right now I'm plus $400,000. I've made $400,000 from not paying marketing, and I've grown our marketing more than it's ever been before.
And retained that number one spot.
And we technically have grown market share, right? So it's like, and how did I do it? It's like, well, I had to kind of refocus and learn really quickly. And then like myself as a business owner, what other business owners started to do is being like, wow, we were just wasting money doing nothing. Like we're just giving money away for where money doesn't need to be spent.
Whose decision was that? I mean, did you look at to talk to the bookkeeper, your accountant, advisor, or was it just like something's not right here? Because I mean, it was running for so many years.
I mean, so like I wasn't happy with where my marketing was, and it was the first year where like I let my marketing team kind of like take full control of it, and like I've been slammed and like you guys run with this.
Yeah.
And they're making social posts and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't sound like this. This isn't like. This isn't cheering me. Like call me. Like I'm like this is like cheesy. This is stupid. Like like I think the point of like social media marketing is like being authentic to who you are. Like right? And like a lot of my people are like, listen, you're a raw person. Like we need to tone it down because you could get in trouble. And I'm like, if I get in trouble, then I get in trouble. Like I've already made it. Honestly, if I really wanted, I could retire right now. I could. I've made it to a point where I could. But like I'm not going to not be who I am to try to get like more followers or likes. Like I'm like, if we're gonna promote stuff, let's promote who we are.
It's you.
Right.
Just the way you show up to listing presentations, they get you.
Right.
And that's what they pay for.
And I was getting more, I was like almost getting angry and angrier. Yeah. And then like we're in the fourth quarter, and if you remember fourth quarter of 2022 was terrible.
Terrible.
Like
you got
absolutely
crushed.
atrocious.
Absolutely,
We got demolished.
Yeah.
And my marketing people are like, we're just so busy, we're so busy. I'm like, what are you guys fucking busy with, right? We have the lowest amount of listings of all time. We have the lowest amount of buyers of all time. I have the lowest amount of deals pending of all time. How are you busy if we're all slow? And like I'm just really overwhelmed. I'm like, you guys are working at home in your underwear. And then my graphic guy sits down with me. This is not a joke. He sits down with me. He gives me this proposal of what he wants, and he has me do this exercise. And we're going through this thing, and he's like making me fill out this stuff. I'm like, wait a second, who works for who here? Like you work for me, I don't work for you. And I'm filling out these fucking forms, and then he sends to me. He goes, oh, I want to make sure. At the end, he goes, I want to have a % of every dollar that gets brought in, and I want to be your chief brand officer. I said, you want to get so first off, let's just back it up. I only make 2.5%. You know, on average, sometimes you get 2, sometimes you get 3, whatever. Yeah. And like you want 1% of that, which means like you want half of my business as my graphics guy, but to build my brand, which I don't like the brand that you've been going with. Yeah. I'm like, and also if we broke this down, we're talking you're gonna be making millions of dollars as a graphics person. When he wasn't making anywhere near that. I fired him on the spot. Yeah. On the spot. Because you just got, like somebody comes in with crazy ideas like that.
You just got to get rid of that. Cut that, yeah.
And then at that point, I'm like, if I'm firing them, I'm going to fire my other marketing person. And I let them go and I let go of a couple of the other people. And I haven't had anybody else, and we've been doing freelance and stuff like that. We've been crushing it.
I'm playing devil's advocate here. Do you think marketing might not correlate to number of listings, appointments, transactions directly? It might have more of a brand, top of mind, tip of tongue sort of effect.
I think marketing in our business has to do with like, what are they doing to help actively sell your properties, and what are they doing to actively build your brand? You're not going to get many people going to be like, hey, I saw your social post and I want to like hire you. But so like my problem with them is that like they weren't doing either. They weren't selling any of our places fast, and they weren't building who we were. So if you're not doing that, like what are we doing? So that's what I kept telling them. Like, what are you bringing to me?
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to spend $1, you should at least try to make me 50 cents back.
One of the questions we got, and a lot of people want to know this, was structure of your team. Yeah. So break it down: number of admins, number of brokers. Out of the 300 million potentially you're going to do, how is that going to filter? Who's doing what? Break it down for a little bit.
95 to 96% of the business is brought in by me solely. Okay.
What does that mean?
It means that like out of 300 million, 95 to 96% of that 300 million is just my own personal business. Okay. Whether it's my personal business, leads I bring in, word of mouth business, whatever.
It's not SOI of your team members or their procured open house business. That's your business.
That's my business myself.
Okay.
So they bring in maybe 4% of the business, the whole picture. Okay.
Absurd. Okay.
So like they're not bringing in. I need my agents for time. If they get business on their own and they get business to open houses, that's a bonus. But I'm not using them to grow my numbers. I'm using them as leverage on time.
Leverage for time. Okay. Yeah.
So my agents are salespeople. We're in sales. Okay. So their goal is to go out there, work my business, help me close my business, and I get a piece of that business for doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. My admin, I have 4 admin, each have different role. Okay. So the way I look at it is like you come to us, we're a one-stop shop. We're going to make this consumer experience the best ever. So like you come in, Jessica, if you're a seller, I have Jessica that does all of our listings. So all she does is all like listing content.
Input listings, take photos.
Schedule the marketing, edits the MLS, sends it to preview. Once we get the preview, we go live, okay? And then she does my seller reports, and then she does my seller updates.
So one person is specifically only allocated for listings?
Just listings,
okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Then I have Callan, who just does setting up listing appointments, or I'm sorry, set up listing showings. Okay?
Listing showings.
So like all
showing
the showings
time and that kind of stuff.
She manages showing time.
Okay.
You know, on average we have about 90 listings at any time. So there's showings that come in all hours of the day, and then she does feedback. So she has to follow with feedback after every showing until we get feedback, and then she has to follow with all showings, past feedback positive, twice a week, every week for the lifetime.
That's one person's job.
That's one person's job. That's all she does.
And you keep her busy?
She's overwhelmed. Like, I mean, every now and then maybe there's a day where she's slower, then there's something else that she's gonna. So the other thing is like the 4 heads, right? If one's slow, then somebody else might be busy, so then she'll help pick up.
So they're cross-trained.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then you have Gretchen, who does all buyers tours. Okay. So all she does is work on buyer tours. Okay. So she sets up all the buyer tours. She follows up the buyers on my behalf, like from my emails and stuff.
Okay.
She looks at what they mark. Gives me suggestions to make based off what they've been seeing, etc. Okay. And then Jamie handles all transactions and some personal stuff. So every single deal we have, she manages, follows up, make sure that they get an electric set up, anything that you need. So it's like a back-end concierge.
You and I were talking a few years back over the phone. We're just kind of brainstorming, and you told me that a broker should not hire a second assistant until they're at $50-60 million.
Correct.
You still stay true to that?
Yeah, I mean, like when you even talk about like, is Callan busy enough? It's like, yeah, because we have like 100 listings. But one of the reasons I'm not hiring, I'm not like going out of my way to hire somebody for marketing. We've been breaking down like, what does the marketing person really do, right? And I keep interviewing all these people. I'm like, give me a day-to-day, like what you can bring to the table. I'm really good at social media posts. Awesome. Send me an example. Then they can't send me. I'm like, okay, well, let me see what you've done. Okay, well, you're averaging 30 likes on your Instagram page. If they're a really hot girl, this sounds terrible, they're getting like 1,000, but that's because they're hot in a bikini. Send me the non-bikini pics and show me how many likes you're getting, right? Show me what you're doing to an ugly person in a suit, right? It sounds terrible, but that's the truth. I need to know what you can do because I have $200,000 listings that are ugly people in suits. How are you going to get likes on that to sell?
Wow.
Right? Wow. So now I'm breaking down the marketing job. I'm like, okay, well, they're making social posts. Well, I've timed it. I literally time it at my office. Less than 60 seconds it takes me to make a social post. So that's 1 minute a day. Now you got 5 days a week, 40 hours a day working as a marketing person. 5 minutes total is what it would take to do my 5 posts a week. So what are you doing the other 7 hours and 58 minutes?
Golfing.
Right? Efficiency.
Let's go back to Jamie. Last time you said Jamie is almost a clone of yours. She understands the business, and she's your right-hand person at this point. What are some of the personal tasks that she's helping you with as a leader of
maternity leave for us for like 2.5 months? So,
congratulations, Jamie.
Internally we're struggling because she does. Closing statements. She counts my checks. She makes sure some bills
audits
are paid,
and then stuff like that.
She manages a lot of the agents' tasks, helps them out. It's things that I'm too busy with. She kind of takes care of.
Got it.
But with her going, it's actually almost a blessing in disguise because a lot of the Jess and Gretchen don't know how to do deals.
Yeah.
So now we're going to split up the deals between the two of them. So they'll know how to do it. So when we talk about cross referencing about if somebody's too busy. The fact that now I can have 2 more people pick up on it, it's going to be
cross train on everything.
The problem with realtors is that they hire a junior agent to be their admin, and then that admin becomes a salesperson, and then they're retraining people, and they're constantly doing it. Whereas, honestly, one of the reasons we're able to grow and continue to have, we have over 1,500 5-star reviews is because, we have the best.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. And to me, it's it's not about sales, it's about customer experience.
Absolutely.
The experience people have is because my admin are fucking amazing. They're next level. Wow. It's impossible to find admin like I have.
Can I ask a personal question? Are you comfortable? And you don't have to cut this out, but are you comfortable sharing how much you typically pay them or what the average?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. No, but I will tell you that they are fairly compensated. They do get bonus.
Yeah. They
get 401k and they get health.
Okay. Yeah. So you've structured it in a way where it's just very difficult for them to leave.
Because
your competition's not going to pay them 401k. They're not going to offer them health. They're not going to offer them bonuses on top of that.
I would say that there is. I know other realtors won't pay what I pay. I know that for a fact.
And and you're pushing the barrier because you don't want to lose good talent. Right?
That, and also the other thing is, and not anything against them, is that if you put up a post for an admin right now for $45,000, let's say, on LinkedIn, you get 10,000 applications.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that can do that job.
Yeah.
It's the fact is you have to find the right people for you, and then that want to work with you,
Wow. All right, let's move. That's the operations staff, admin staff. Let's go to the sales side.
Yeah, the sales side is pretty basic. They work leads.
Yeah.
They show. I have all my agents do every single. They wear all different hats, right? So they do listings, so they help show listings. They do buyers. They have their own business, and they're able to work buyers that I have, splits. So we call them buyer splits, where I do all the talking on I do all the negotiations. We do all the paperwork, everything. Your only job is to open up the door and show them places. Yeah. It sounds bad like that, but I'm saying you're just showing. So I think a lot of agents you have, not you personally, but people that are these guys show my listings, these guys just work my buyers. But the problem is retaining that talent is the fact that they get sick of doing one or the other, right? I wouldn't want to just do the same thing. And then if they bring in their own business, if they're only on the list side, they're not even going to work their own buyers, a lot of these teams. So for us, it's I look at the showings and maybe helping me do inspections is kind of your salary almost, right? This is keep the bills paid. And then any business you bring in is bonus where you're making more money and stuff like that. Or off splits. A lot of people like splits, the way we structure splits. That's where they make real money. So
have you thought and considered maybe just putting everyone on salary, just giving them a base pay, no bonuses, you keep all the commission? Would that almost be better structure? Because it seems like you're the operator.
I would make 10 times more money.
I bet.
But see, again, I'm not in for the money. I have a very fair operation. I'm not saying maybe somebody out there will pay more, maybe. But I operate a very fair, clear operation, and you can make as much as you want to if you work. But I'm not looking to get rich off you. I'm not looking to take advantage of you.
It's their time is what you
I'm just looking to make sure that you do what I ask when I need it, and in return, you can make a bunch of money.
You meet up every Tuesday morning for
every
team
Tuesday
meetings.
9 a.m., yeah.
Tuesday 9 a.m. Walk us through the structure of that team meeting. What does that sound like?
Sometimes I'm extremely angry. I'm just yelling at everybody.
Why are you angry?
Just I want to be the best. So if we're not performing at a high enough level, I get very upset about it.
Broken down on a weekly basis?
Correct.
So you're reviewing the numbers? Okay.
Yeah. Every week I'm okay, we're this much behind last year. You guys bragging about this, or someone in the office pisses me off about something, so I'm laying into them in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Et cetera. But otherwise, we talk about the market. We talk about like, maybe, what's happening in Zillow or scheduling or
updates
like
and things like
what
that.
listings are having problems.
Yeah.
What do we need to, like, we'll have like our problem listings that aren't selling. We'll talk about like, what do we need to do to try to get move these?
Yeah.
Just like a bunch of stuff like that.
How do you motivate them, especially if you're behind and you come in there, you're pissed off, you're just like laying it down? I mean, how are you motivating them again? How are you getting the troops back up?
I mean, I'm always motivated myself, so I think it just rubs off on people.
Yeah,
But like I just expect my people to be motivated.
Wow.
I'm not here to tell you like get out of bed. Like you either getting it or not. But also like I start texting everybody around like 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, so
what
like,
are you saying?
Yeah, like they're in fact, I texted. I can't remember what I did. I sent some video to like the whole team at like 5 a.m. about like this guy that's like screaming at people, being like, "Let's go!" Like
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Does it look weird that I'm just drinking milk here?
I don't know what that is. Like, it looks like milk.
I shouldn't have done that. All right. People want to know, how do you work with high net worth clients? What do they expect, and are they difficult than the median buyer?
I mean, I just think high net worth people think differently than low net worth people. I think your $200,000 buyer can be super tough, and your $5 million buyer can be super tough. They're tough in different terms. Like your $5 million buyer has a level expectation, right? They're using you because they expect you to have knowledge. They're using you because they expect professionalism. They're using you because they want easiness, right? So I always talk to people like, is time or money more important to you, right? I know the $200,000 people, money is more important. I know the $5 million people, time is more important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they have money, they don't have time. Whereas the people down low, they don't have money, they have time. So like I use that to my advantage. And when I'm working with somebody that's high net worth, I'm always like, I always say this to people all the time, like we're between 20 grand and a negotiation. I'm like, listen, I mean, what the fuck you care about 20? Like, what are we doing here? Like, we're gonna sit here and argue over $20,000. It's like an expensive dinner for you.
Just like that?
That's exactly
how real you are?
100%.
So no filters.
I'm like, you're gonna sit here and tell me you bragged about the whole time we're in the car, bragging about how rich you are, and now you're pitching over $20,000.
Has that ever backfired?
Never. I mean, listen, I'm just being honest. It's true. Am I wrong? Like it is what it is.
Wow.
If you're gonna sit there and shove in my face all the time about how rich you are, like what are we arguing over 20? I'm just using it as an example. But like,
of course, I understand.
Most of my people that are in the upper net worth, they really want everything to get taken care of for them. That's it. They want no strings attached. They want everything completely done, and that's where like my admin are really good on, is making sure that like they literally have to think about nothing.
The concept of gentrification is a hot button right now in urban areas like Chicago.
Yeah.
Some people claim that real estate agents contribute to the displacement of long-term residents. We're seeing that right now. How do you navigate these ethical challenges associated with gentrification in these markets?
I mean, in all honesty, I don't really come across it that much because like most of the markets I work are already, you know what I mean? Like I'm not really working in like up and coming areas, we'll call them, right? Where that's kind of like happening.
Pilsen,
Logan Square, etc. To me, I treat everybody like, I mean, that's what, like we work with a lot of 200,000, we work with a lot of VA, FHA buyers, etc. Like, I don't give a shit what your background is, how much money you have. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm here to be the best at what I do and make sure you have the best customer experience, no matter what the price point.
Let me ask you a question. Do you, in your mind, do you work for a buyer or seller, or do you work for the deal?
I work for my client. Like, the deal happening is great, but like also like if I close a deal and you had a terrible customer experience, right? Like, yeah, I made money, but like I just burned the bridge, right? There's no retention there. I'll never get anything off you again. But I always tell my people this that want a deal closed so bad. I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, if I don't close that deal and I do what's in their best interest, and like they know that,
they're not going anywhere.
They're not only are they coming back, but that person's probably going to talk to at least 5 people this year that are going to be buying or selling. And who do you think is going to be the first person they recommend? So maybe I lose 1, but I gain 5. But people only see the paycheck. They don't see the 5 in the background.
Short term, short, nearsighted. Like they're not looking at the long term.
Correct. So even when I'm, saying about like, what's 20 grand mean to you, it's like sometimes you have to make sure that people aren't their own worst enemy. Like that's a big problem in our thing. I'm always like, it's your ego that gets in the way. It's you're trying to kill the deal because you want to win. I'm always like, okay, you want. Does that make you feel good? But at the end of the day, like, you want this place. Like, don't be your own worst enemy. I say that probably 10 times a day. I tell clients, don't be your own worst enemy. Like, this is stupid. Like, how many times do you have people who are like, I'm not going to close this deal unless they give me $500. I'm like, okay, maybe the $500 gets your dick hard, okay? But like, it doesn't get you the property. Now the deal is going to die. Think of overhead costs. This is a big problem that agents need to learn about, is overhead costs. How many times I get in an argument with an agent with like, well, we'll kill the deal unless you give us this. Okay, kill the deal. Go back on the market. Even if you get a contract today, it's going to probably take 30 days, which means you have taxes, assessments, and a mortgage. You tell me it's going to be more than $500 for that? overhead costs. Don't be your worst enemy. It's just common sense. And you know what? A big reason why I'm successful in safe deals and why I barely ever lose deals is I talk rational with people. Like, it may sound bad, but like, it's like when you go to your financial advisor, who I don't like, but like somebody who you could go to for money advice, and I'm actually giving them like facts. Like, just think logically about this, dude. Like, you're gonna kill this deal to say you win, and you're gonna lose. Here's how much money you're gonna lose from what you told me you pay. Like, does that really did you really win in this situation? Like, I get it. You want to feel like you ultimately got on this, and you're thinking, I just want a deal closed. I'm going to sell this again. So it doesn't matter if you sell it to this guy or we sell it 30 days from now, but now you're out $3,500 because you wanted to make sure that you were right.
So it's just ego at that point, essentially.
Correct. Everybody's got an ego.
All right. National expansion. I've been hearing that for quite some time. You've been talking about, first you were talking about expanding in North Shore, you're referring tons of business. You've never gotten a referral from him, by the way, on record, but yeah, talk to us a little bit more about
We're still debating about what to do. I mean, like, we have so much suburb business, and we refer it out, and like, even this year, like with some of the agents being a little bit slower on my team that know the suburbs really well, they've done a couple of deals out there. I mean, we've probably given away only about $10 million this year in business locally, which is lower. Like last year, we did about
still
$50 million.
$10 million.
Yeah, $10 million is still a lot of money we gave out.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to think, like, maybe in the future, not today or soon, but like there's certain cities I really like. Like, I love Napa, so like I'm like, why wouldn't I open an office in Yountville, which is like my favorite place in the world. So like, you know, like maybe get a place there, and then like maybe Nashville or something else, you know, somewhere else that's local.
You think you're going to transfer yourself out of Chicago ultimately?
So I think the odds of me leaving Chicago are very low, but if, and I think this is a big if, we keep going down a worse trend and the city keeps getting worse. And like, I mean, ultimately I am a father, I have 3 kids. And if it does become the fact where my kids are not safe, like physically not safe, I will move. And to me, I see no point of moving to the suburbs. Like, I'm not going to pay Illinois state taxes and live in a suburb. I don't agree with a lot of things Illinois does, and like I don't see the point of me paying that money. I'd rather move to a place that I feel like more connected with if I was going to move. It's a big if. I love the city. I think there's less than 1% chance of that happening, but it would only be because of my kids' safety.
1% chance. 3 places that you think you might move to.
Well, first and foremost would be Napa. Second would be Nashville. Third would be Alley's Beach.
Okay.
Actually, it's called Alice Beach, but like I always call it Alley's Beach.
Beautiful family. We saw the photos.
Thank you.
Cool photo shoot.
Your wife's got good genes.
They're growing very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Do you see them being in real estate as well?
I would think so. I mean, in all honesty, like, I mean, obviously they're gonna have to learn technology and coding and all this other stuff because, like, eventually, as we were talking earlier, that's kind of where it's going. But like, I mean, like all my kids ever talk about is like, you're going to the like even today was their first day of summer school at Son. It's the first time they're doing city school. They've been going to the suburbs, and it's right by my office. And like, we're gonna come by the office, you know. And they know all my assistants' names and like they know what I do all day. So like, I mean, I think naturally. Probably, I bet you they will. I'd be surprised. And I won't push them. If they don't want to do it, they can do whatever they want.
Okay. But you're a 4th generation real estate agent.
I'm a 3rd. They would be 4th.
I'll be 4th.
Yeah.
Isn't that a legacy you want to carry on?
I mean, I would like them to do it. But like, I'm not going to push them. You know?
Yeah. Talk about your portfolio a little bit. And we'll come back to the work-life balance. Well, actually, let's skip the portfolio. Let's do work since we're talking about this topic. 3 kids, wife, number 1 spot. How are you balancing all of this?
I mean, I wouldn't say I have any balance with family. I mean, like, I think I said this to somebody. I don't think I've ever spent more than like a couple hours alone with my kid in my life. You know, like I've actually never taken any one of my kids like in a car and driven them somewhere, like ever since they've been alive. My oldest is like 4.5 at this point. So like, you know, and that's not like in a bad way. And I'm sure some people are like, oh, that's terrible and blah. Like, my job is to run the business, you know, like, and you know, if something happens with one of my kids or something like that, that's always first. Like, family will always be first.
Of course.
But like day to day, like I have an operation run. I have clients that depend on me, et cetera. Like, my wife, her mother-in-law, and her sister helps out with taking care of the kids, like from your day-to-day stuff.
And these are the rules that you've set. That listen, my business is very important to me, and I love my family.
I don't think we've ever had that conversation. I think it's just kind of like
naturally they know you see your passion.
It's like Father's Day is coming up, right? And like they all know that, like, you know, to me anything before 4 o'clock off is considered a day off. So like we can't do Father's Day dinner until after 4 o'clock. It's not even like talked about in the family. It's just like when like her mom will call me up, be like, listen, like around 5:30 is when dinner is. Like,
Yeah,
what do you
we're
think?
getting together. Dude, that's so crazy because people have 1 kid, 2 kids, 3, and then all of a sudden business is gone. They start hiring people, hire.
Right.
They're completely out of the business. They're like,
Right.
listen, we're going to be the mastermind. We're going to puppeteer. You're going to run the business.
Right.
Because you've doubled down on all of that.
Yeah.
I just, again, I got to understand the mindset. I mean,
Yeah.
do you see that slowing down, or are you?
No, I mean, like my job is, and I like my business. You know, it's not that I don't love my kids or want to be around them or anything like that, but like, you know, like I have a business to run, and ultimately my goal is to be extremely successful. Like, you know, I'm sure when I'm on my deathbed, I'll probably regret not hanging out with my kids or spending more time with them at this time. But I also can be on my deathbed and be surrounded by, you know, the ghosts of myself saying this is what you could have been, but you didn't do it.
Wow.
Right? So like, you're going to live in regret either way. To me, I'd rather live a life where I ultimately was the best version of myself at all times. I won't be known as the best dad of all time. My kids know I love them. I love my kids. I like being around them, but I have a job to do.
Dude, that is dedication, man.
Yeah.
That's very difficult to find.
Yeah.
And I feel like any industry, any realm, you're gonna just you're gonna crush it. You're gonna destroy that.
That's it.
Let's do a little rapid fire. You ready for this? We're gonna mix and match some questions from
Yeah.
last time and let's see if your answers change a little.
Yeah.
All right. You know the gig. You know how it works. Start of the day. The first 15 minutes. What do you do?
I mean, I brush my teeth, take a piss, do a protein shake, clean out my email, and go to the gym.
Best thing that's happened to you this month.
Man, best thing that happened in this month. Nothing. I don't know. What is the best thing? That's a great question. I don't know.
Think about it.
Like, to me, it's like define like what's great. So like, I don't even know. I can't even tell you.
When are you most inspired?
When I first wake up, like, because I know like my whole day's ahead of me to like just crush it.
The best compliment you've received.
That I'm a hard worker. Like, if somebody tells me I'm a hard worker, to me that's a compliment. It shows
Dude,
that's who I am.
side note, and again, I publicly say this to everyone. These guys have heard it as well. I tell them that Laricy's work ethic, no one can match it. Like, absolutely, you are the definition of hardworking person. I feel like you are the hardest working person in this industry, hands down. I say to people, like, you know, and I strive for that sort of dedication. It's very difficult, man. It's very difficult.
To me, that's the biggest compliment we could get, and thank you for it. It's just because, like, obviously, that's the one thing I can control out of everything in this business is how hard I can work and how badly I want something. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else, you know, you can't control.
Yeah. Favorite movie?
Pumping iron.
Yeah, that's what you said last time.
Yeah.
Name one thing you are not good at.
I have a bad temper, and I don't have patience. Maybe just patience. I have no patience.
Anger management classes?
I mean, I'm not like a terrible person, but I have a
You're
quick temper.
not going kicking people, breaking
I'm not
into
gonna,
walls,
like,
punching
physically
walls.
anybody. I have a very bad quick temper.
Yeah. How many suits do you own?
At least 30.
How do you manage stress?
I don't believe in stress.
Great answer.
I get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I think overwhelmed and stress is different.
Yeah.
And then I just break down what am I so overwhelmed by, and I'm a big checklist guy. So then I write it down, and then one by one I just knock it out.
Jeff Bezos says something along those lines. He says that you're stressed when you don't know your craft well enough,
Right.
or you're not passionate about it, or something along those lines.
Right.
Because there's no such thing as stress. It's just
Right.
you're not prepared for it.
Correct.
Your kryptonite.
Going out with friends.
You do?
No, that would be my kryptonite.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So like I don't go out with people. I think I've said this last time. I just try.
What's the most important life lesson for someone to learn watching this?
Rome wasn't built overnight. You know, like.
But you're building it overnight.
What's that?
But you're building it overnight. I mean, you've
Well,
had success. That's
I started in 2006, now 2023. You know, so it's been a lot longer than you think. But I think the average person that is watching this that wants some value about it is like a lot of people think that you can get successful very quickly, but it takes a long time. You know, and like obviously like the bigger your empire you could grow is going to continue to grow, but it's going to grow over time. It's not going to be immediate success.
if you were not a real estate agent, what would you be?
I would find a way to get into real estate and be a real estate agent.
That's what you said last time.
Or maybe at some point I may own a winery. That'll be like my side gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you'll be. I'd come and visit that farm.
I would
think,
crush
or
it.
vineyard.
I would crush it and sell wine. Just crush
You'd be a
it.
good salesperson as well. One imminent threat in our industry right now.
It's got to be artificial intelligence. How it's going to change. That's going to be the biggest thing that we have to watch out for.
Yeah.
and understanding how to pivot to adapt your business to still succeed during it.
Yeah, yeah. What's one thing Matt Laricy wants to be known for and remembered for many years to come after you retire?
It would just be somebody that just help change the industry for the better. I hold myself for a higher standard, and I think I want to try to make sure that agents hold themselves for a higher standard. But that's why we wear suits and ties, is because we want people to be more professional. And I think that the better that we try to change the industry for the better, the more the general public will kind of appreciate us more. I mean, there's nothing but lawsuits coming at real estate lately. Commission lawsuits. It has to do with people just not respecting the business, because a lot of people just don't respect themselves. So, I want to be known as somebody that helped change the industry in a better way.
Yeah. And do we see Laricy ever merging or selling to another brokerage and partnering up with someone else?
I mean, I'll never say never, because you never know what can happen in life. But if anything, it would be me buying another company. Yeah.
You're a legend, man.
All
This
right,
was
my man.
incredible. Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
How fucking powerful was that, dude?